current version of sports betting, and I'll say even more specifically, online sports betting has on people. And by people, I disproportionately mean young men between the ages of 18 and 35 who have sort of borne the biggest consequences from the legalization of sports betting. And the very sort of specific, concrete consequences are rising rates of economic insecurity, huge prevalence of young men in particular betting more money than they can afford or more money than they have. A large percentage have admitted that they have been unable to pay one of their bills because of the amount of money that they bet every month. Rising rates of bankruptcies, of credit card delinquencies in states that have legalized online sports betting, as well as sort of the most dramatic evidence, which would be rising rates of problem gambling, as there are lots of different indicators of this, calls to hotlines, texts to gambling hotlines, and then something called self-exclusion. So if I decide, I really just can't control my betting, I need to register with the state and the state is going to cut me off and they will not let me legally bet anymore. The rates of people in states like Pennsylvania that have self-excluded just in the last 7 years outpaced the entire 12-year period prior to legalization. So we're getting more self-exclusion just in the last couple of years than we saw for a decade plus prior to sports betting legalization.
All right, folks, we are back here on WLTH 1370 AM. Hope you love my man, Peebo Bryson. I just love that dude. That man is a singer. They don't make singers no more. I was just thinking about this the other day. You don't have singers like that no more. Not at all. Oh, man. We ain't creating singers no more because we don't have the church. We don't have, the black church ain't what it was. So, whoo, Peebo Bryson. Before we get to this next story, let me just say rest in peace to Dr. Gladys West, the mother of GPS. Yes, the mother of GPS. We've actually profiled her on this show before. She passed away. So rest in peace to her. And she passed away in January, but I'm just learning about it. So, rest in peace to her. But as you heard in the intro, the rise of online gambling over the past decade, especially here in the United States, it isn't just about casinos going digital. It's a convergence of legal change, mobile technology, financialization, cultural normalization of speculation. You have platforms like DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, Caesars, and Polymarket, which are representing different parts of this transformation. And let me tell you, this is dangerous. This is dangerous. Just this week, a study came out that showed that more than half of young men in this country between the ages of 18 and 49, so all the men under 50 in this country, half of the men under 50 in America now says they have an active sports betting account with an online sports book like DraftKings, Caesars, FanDuel, or BetMGM. These people are many times losing everything. And it is having real consequences. People are committing suicide. People are doing all kinds of drastic things because they have become hooked by one of the most virulent vices, which is gambling. And things have only been made easier in the last few years. The U.S. online gambling market in 2026 is $7 billion. $7 billion. And it's expected to more than double by 2031. So just 5 years from now, the online gambling market is expected to double. Oh, more than double. The global online market is already $121 billion per year. And so this is where we're at, where gambling is becoming mainstream. Gambling is becoming mainstream. And so this is become very dangerous, very, very dangerous. You have these platforms that are blurring trading with finance. And so it's not just about sports either. It's about anything with an outcome. These platforms now feature micro bets during games. You can bet if, you know, LeBron James misses a free throw. You can bet on that. You can bet on futures markets. You can use hedging strategies like financial portfolios. And so we're creating this world where our entire economy has become a casino. It's all a casino now. And that's leading us to these prediction markets like Poly Market that uses crypto and blockchain technology that lets users bet on real world events, not just sports. It's not just about sports at this point. You can also vote on elections, wars, economic data. It is very, you're really standing on shaky ground once you get to this point, because we just saw it with the Iranian war, where you actually had people who were making bets that Trump would bomb Iran 20 minutes before he actually did it. And so that could be a situation, a scenario in which somebody in the White House or somebody who knows Donald Trump, it might be Barron Trump, it might be Donald Trump Jr., it might be Eric Trump, it might be Ivanka, it might be Jared Kushner, it could be anybody who's sitting next to Donald Trump could possibly be betting on whether or not we go to war or whether Donald Trump signs a ceasefire. And so that's where you have these prediction markets like Kalshi and Poly Market. Now, they're allowing you to do that. They're actually operating more like a trading exchange than a sports book. These prices reflect crowd probabilities, which they're calling the market truth. Poly Market got a whole lot of publicity in 2024 because when all the media polls were saying that Kamala Harris would likely win the election, on Poly Market, the money was with Donald Trump. And so the Poly Market CEO was walking around like, God on earth. He was a king. He was the king after 2024. And we're seeing these types of figures, him and the lady from Kalshi, being exalted and venerated for pushing this gambling-centric economy that we have now. Now they have tens of millions of users and billions in wages. Again, people are losing everything they have. You can bet on wars. You can bet on geopolitical crisis. You can bet on anything. And there's virtually no regulation whatsoever. And now you're seeing these sports books like DraftKings and FanDuel, they're actually exploring prediction style markets as well. They are starting new apps to let users bet on politics, weather, the macroeconomic events as well. And this is crazy because prediction markets can operate in states where sports betting is illegal. So if you live in a state where sports betting is illegal, you can still bet with DraftKings or FanDuel. They tap into a broader speculation economy as a whole. Hold on, caller. And so now, if you look at the way this industry is structured, you have a few dominant firms that control most of the market share because they have the licensing, they have the marketing costs, they have the partnerships with the leagues. And this is something that I'm seeing that has annoyed me to no end with the NFL and with the NBA. Everything is about gambling. Everything is about fantasy sports now. When I was a kid, I could just watch ESPN and just see guys talking about sports. Now everything is fantasy this. Everything is, who you taking the under for. I mean, like, you can't even enjoy. You can't just enjoy things anymore. But there's this sort of perception that with these things, it's not like gambling in a casino where the house always wins. It's not like that. Well, it kind of is. Because they're still using these high margin products like parlays. They're using data monetization and cross-selling to make sure that you will never get the best of them. Never. They've got their own built-in advantages. And again, we're seeing huge implications, social implications, political implications. You have 2.5 million American adults who now have severe gambling problems. Severe gambling problems. That was not the case in the past. That was not the case in the past. And let me just say this, in this world that we're in currently, where we've seen massive job losses over many decades, particularly amongst working class and poor men, as things like NAFTA, signed under Clinton, and also PNTR with China, where we normalized trade relations with China. We lost millions of jobs to China. Millions. And you have generations of men who don't feel like men, who are not allowed to feel like men. I always tell a story of a lot of the men in my family. They all started working in the mill, some of them before they were 18 years old. And a lot of them worked in the mill 30, 40, 50 years. They bought houses. They bought cars. They got married. They had children. They were able to do that sometimes without a high school education. Sometimes with just a high school education. And they were able to build a stable life in the middle class. Some within close to a middle class, at least lower middle class, as the Simpsons always say, upper lower middle class. They were able to build a decent life for themselves, for their children, with these jobs, in these factories or in these labor jobs. And as that has sort of been stripped away, and that happened in places like here in Gary back in the 70s, 60s and 70s, you started to see it. And now you're starting to see it in much of white America. That's why you had the whole opiate crisis and the deaths of despair, because you're seeing a lot of rural communities losing whatever jobs they had, and whatever suburban communities being gutted out because they're losing the jobs they had. Now you have generations of men who have very little to no prospects in their lives whatsoever. And they are searching for something. And, everybody can't sell drugs. Everybody can't sell drugs. And alcohol is legal. So you don't need bootleggers anymore. And so, and if you're, all the women are going to OnlyFans, which is, I'll probably do a segment about that at some point in the near future, where we're seeing so many young women monetizing their bodies. And essentially, degrading themselves on the internet for strangers to make ends meet. Well, this is the male version of that. Most men aren't going to make any money on OnlyFans. And so a lot of them, their plan, this is their life plan, is to sign up to a sports betting league. I know sports. Sports is something I like. I'm good at it. Or I'm good at watching it and good at predicting things. And I can make all this money on sports betting. Because this might be the one thing that allows me in my life to be able to make a difference. They told everybody to go to college. People went to college. Now they're thousands of dollars in debt. And now college graduates are some of the most unemployed people in the country. And now AI is creating an unemployed white collar community. And so again, a lot of these people are looking for anything, and online gambling has filled this void in a very, very pernicious way. And a lot of this slips through the cracks as well because there's regulatory fragmentation. You have all this fragmentation in the regulations. You have state regulations that often differ from federal regulations, and sometimes they conflict. You have the prediction markets, and then you have gambling laws. Like you just don't know what the hell is going on. And so in this cultural shift, where we're sort of weaponizing fandom. We're weaponizing sports fandom. It used to be people could just enjoy baseball, enjoy basketball, enjoy football, enjoy the World Cup, whatever. But now, in this new world that we live in, there's this imminent pressure to try to make money off of the endeavor while they're making money off of you. And this is even more relevant here now that we're talking about getting the Chicago Bears coming across the border from Illinois to Indiana, because we're all about to be paying a lot more taxes for these Bears. The seats to go to the cost to go to Bears game, I guarantee you, are going to be astronomical. And so a lot of the real fans aren't going to be able to even afford to go to the games, because being a fan of anything, music, sports, movies, has become beyond ridiculously priced. And so again, the desperation. We are being driven towards desperation in virtually every facet of our lives. And here comes online gambling to fill this void and sell this dream that all it takes, all you got to do is be good at predicting whether or not the Dallas Cowboys are going to win this week. And you can solve all your money problems, all your debt problems can go away. And then you just have the sort of ethical concerns. Betting on real life events, betting on wars and elections. Doesn't that sort of create an incentive to rig these things? I mean, we have a casino owner, a man who famously owned a casino right here in Gary, Indiana, Donald John Trump. That's what the judge calls him. Isn't there some sort of incentive for maybe him to try to rig or to try to make money off of decisions he knows he's going to make, or his family, allow his family? His son Barron right now could be making bets on what we're going to do in Iran right now. Because of these prediction markets. And this is where our society is headed. Now, there are three major directions that this could be headed. And that is full integration with finance, where you have prediction markets competing with stock markets for truth pricing. There will either be that or regulatory crackdown and consolidation, with the governments deciding, is this gambling or is this financial trading? Or, again, we will continue this expansion into all of our lives, our regular everyday lives, where people are betting on news events, betting on earthquakes, betting on, volcanoes, betting on, whether Diddy is going to be found guilty, or whether Diddy is going to get out of jail, or, anything. Is that the world we want to live in? Is that the world we want to live in? The NBA just had a very huge scandal last year from a man named Jonte Porter. Jonte Porter, who played, I believe, for the Toronto Raptors, he just received a lifetime ban from the NBA. And because he was betting on NBA games, including ones he played in, and shared insider information with gamblers. He admitted to manipulating his performance in games just to win money. And so he's the first player to be banned for gambling since all of this legalization started. And it exposed exactly how easy it is to exploit player prop bets. You know, you just had a situation where Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups and these people were actually involved in organized crime. They were linked to a federal gambling ring. You know, this is insane. Terry Rozier would tell bettors that he would exit a game early due to injury, and large bets would be placed on his understats. And so again, that's actually manipulating an actual event. Now that's just sports in people's mind, but you can actually manipulate other events the same way. Again, politicians can manipulate events. Coaches and other people can manipulate events. Chauncey Billups was actually connected to a mafia-linked rigged poker games and helped lure victims into fixed games using insider networks. He's been arrested for being a part of a fraud operation, a $7 million fraud operation. We're seeing it in Major League Baseball, where you've had micro action inside games. Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz participated in schemes to manipulate specific pitches. They're actually betting on which pitches they're going to throw, which is insane when you think about it. Now, they're not fixing entire games, but that's sort of the thing that's sort of pernicious. You don't have to fix the whole game. It used to be you had to fix the game. Now you don't even have to fix the game, the whole game. You can essentially just manipulate what pitches you're going to throw, and nobody will be the wiser. Hold on, callers. Got to get through this. And so Major League Baseball over the last few years has handed out multiple player suspensions for gambling violations, included betting on games and violating league gambling policies. The NFL has had a few. You've had players suspended for betting on NFL games, betting from team facilities. One player reportedly lost thousands of dollars on NFL games. And so again, you could say it's just sports, but as I just told you, people are making geopolitical bets. Massive bets are being placed right before real-world events. There were correct bets on U.S. strikes or ceasefires involving Iran. So who in the White House is leaking this information? You have traders profiting minutes to hours before public announcements. One person actually made $600,000 in profit from correctly predicting a ceasefire. More than $529 million in wages were bet on whether the United States would strike Iran or not. Like, the timing is far too precise to be random. So again, who is this? Who is this? You know, you have tech and corporate leaks where a trader made 22 out of 23 correct predictions and made $1 million profit in 24 hours in Google year in search, betting on what the Google year in search would look like. Other cases, you had bets placed on OpenAI's product launches and other Google announcements. There was a $40,000 bet on OpenAI's browser launch. And again, you could just make a quick profit that way. These outcomes depend on internal corporate data. And this suggests that employees or insiders could be leaking information or trading with privileged access. This is our economy now. People don't have jobs anymore. They just seek to make a come up, a hustle. You know, a trader made $400,000 betting that Nicolas Maduro would be removed from office in Venezuela right before it happened, right before the covert operation became public. There were large bets waged on the Nobel Peace Prize. Again, this could have easily been leaked. You had an account make $155,000 on Israeli strike predictions, and then the account just disappeared. We just don't know what's going on here. You know, Polymarket operates offshore or in limited jurisdictions, and U.S. regulators like the Commodities Futures Trading Commission have very limited reach of what they can do to these entities. And traders are also pseudo-anonymous. They're hard to trace. It makes enforcement very legal. There's no clear definitions legally here. In stock markets, insider trading is illegal. But in prediction markets, it's often unclear as what counts as material, non-public information. And so this is where we're at now. This is where we're at as a society, and it is very dangerous. And that stat about half of the men under 50 in this country being regularly involved in gambling is scary. This could bring violence. This could bring a lot of pain to a lot of families. Let me get this caller. Hello, caller. What's up?
Well, good evening. Can you say BlackRock?
Huh?
I mean, is it, BlackRock is a major investment bank, so
Oh, yes.
they used to say you want to find the criminal, follow the money stream.
Absolutely.
What's the biggest money spent on? Security. No? Yes?
I heard
Yeah.
that.
I think so.
But thank you
And
for your call. I
great-
got to go
yeah,
to this
but-
other caller.
Have a great day.
All right. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Hello? They didn't put the phone down. Caller, what's up? I can hear you. I can hear your smoke detector in the background. So I know you're on the line. Where'd you go? All right, folks. Oh, man. They're going to be kicking themselves tomorrow. They'll be like, oh, man, I was on the phone. Oh, man. All right, folks. Here we go. It's 6:46 in the p.m. So I'm going to have to get out of here in a few minutes. But before I do, we're going to go to one more commercial break right here on Straight Outta Cannon. It's a very strange day. Really strange. A really, really strange day. Like I said, for most of the show, people have been carrying stuff back and forth across the room while I'm trying to talk to you guys. So I'm sorry if I sound a little bit distracted today, but they're done now. And right when it's time for us to finish up. So we're about to go to a break here on Straight Outta Cannon with me, Scott Cannon. When we come back, I'm going to mop up. Stay with us.